Welcome back to another episode of The Journey to Unreal, a series that documents my progression in jtoh, with my ultimate goal being the Citadel of Infinite Void, one of the hardest obbies on Roblox. If you didn't watch the previous episodes, I would recommend it, but you don't need to. As a quick recap, I've recently beaten Tower of Champions Road, a raw skill-based tower, and Tower of Shining Excursion, a consistency-based tower. These two help me boost my skill to the higher end of the catastrophic difficulty. Now that my skill is here, I need to make some final preparations for my last catastrophic, and ultimately horrific. So without further ado, let's get into the grind. This is the Tower of Descent into Exile, 10 floors of difficult yet uniquely challenging gameplay. I decided this would be my next tower after Tower of Champions Road, as I needed to develop another skill to prepare for horrific. This skill was timing. If you didn't know already, your timing helps out your precision in things like moving obstacles or spinners, and I was lacking in that area of obbying. Tower of Descent into Exile will double as both a break grind since this was an easier catastrophic, and also as a skill booster for the skill of timing. As for jtoh itself, I personally divide it into 3 sections. The first section are floors 1 to 3, which are obviously the easiest, but still a place where you can loop fill. The next section are floors 4 to 6. These floors are suspended above nothing, so most fails here can lead to your demise. In my opinion, this is the second hardest section, and this is where the final one comes in. Floors 7 to 10. Like 4 to 6, most fails will end your run here, and floor 10 is entirely unnetted. But the punishment is only one part of the difficulty, because this tower would have an important aspect of gameplay I've never experienced in the series before. Advanced client objects. Basic client objects like a spinner aren't too hard to learn, but advanced client objects are. Things like jump boosters made this gameplay much more confusing to learn, and added a layer of difficulty to the tower. But with all of these obstacles, could I still complete this tower quickly? It was time to find out. It was day 1 of the grind, and I wasn't too sure what to expect. I didn't do anything off stream for this tower, so I would be taking my first looks live. As every grind should, I started with an all jump to get a basic understanding of the tower and its gameplay. That's a GG. This all jump actually ended up taking just about an hour and 30 minutes because of how learning the gameplay was. Thankfully, I was pretty consistent at the jumps now, and it seemed like this was going to go well. This was because I was going to begin another important part of getting consistent, all flooring, or completing each floor individually. This would give me the ability to complete every floor, and also get used to the modern gameplay. The all flooring ended up taking the rest of the stream, and by the end of day 1, I was ready for real runs. This brings us to day 2, where I would begin to make some progress in the tower. It still began with a lot of practice though, because I had only completed the first 7 floors legit on day 1, so I had some unfinished work. Finishing up the all flooring took a little over an hour, mainly because of floor 9, one of the most difficult floors in the tower. And there's jtoh all floored. GG. After a bit of brushing up on some other floors, I started the real runs. Floor 1 is definitely one of the easier floors in the tower, as the first 3 of jtoh are around terrifying difficulty. It didn't take too long to get past, and I was now at the second floor. Okay. Floor 2 had some difficult jumps like this hard timing where you hit a button with your head and jump to a truss. So when I fluked it, I was kind of surprised. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Even this early into the grind, floor 3 was pretty consistent for me, so I had a solid chance of getting to the second section of the tower. But could I? Bro, how? Yo, let's actually go. We already got that floor on, bro. Floor 4 was actually my goal for the entire stream, so getting here this early was definitely nice. But this was the unfortunate part. Compared to the first section of Todai, the second is much harder. Like I said before, if I failed any jump here, I had a solid chance of losing the run. And honestly, I wasn't expecting to make any progress here. I had just fluked one of the most inconsistent floors on my first try. I was now at 5, and if I fell here, I now had a low but possible chance to save. Could I make it to floor 6 though? No, okay. Unfortunately for me, I fell a couple jumps away from floor 6, but I at least saved to the start of 5. To get back though, you have to perform a rather difficult jump, and I had unfortunately failed it. Things seemed to slow down from there, and I was just on my last run when I suddenly got the 4 again. After that, I passed the entire floor for the second time and had another attempt on 5. With a bit more practice now, my chances were slightly better, and 6 didn't seem so out of reach. Annoyingly, I actually got to 6, but I failed the first jump, which was this difficult zipline timing. For the first day of runs though, I was actually really happy with my progress. On the next day, I actually had a chance to get to the final section of this tower, but before I get into my progress on day 3, I need to tell you about floor 6. This floor and floor 9 are considered the hardest floors of the entire tower. For me to get to the third section of Todai, I would need to pass the entire floor, so many attempts are going to be needed. The day started off with a lot of practice, as this still was early on into the grind. But after that, I was ready to get somewhere. After a bit of loop fill on the first 3 floors, I got to 4, but I unfortunately failed this fading trust jump, which is one of the hardest in my opinion. Fortunately, I got back really quick, but I did fail 4 for the second time in the stream because I turned weirdly into this lodge. Third time did seem to be the charm though, as I managed to pass 4 and get to floor 5, giving me a solid attempt to get to 6.
Bro.
I was close, but I fell just out of reach of 6. Hope wasn't lost yet though, as I got to 5 again the next attempt. Instead of failing the same jump, I got past it and made it to 6 for my second time. Yes, you saw that. I had passed the entirety of floor 6, just to fail the last jump. After that, I fell to floor 1, and I didn't know how to feel. On one hand, I had just made amazing progress, but on the other I had lost my chance to make it a 7. Day 3 ended with a personal best of the last jump of floor 6, but 4 was about to begin. This day wasn't as eventful, but it got me into a flow of an average day. This time, practice was much shorter, and runs began to take up stream. On my first 4 attempts, I failed, and it was the same story for my second. I wouldn't get past floor 4 until my 4th attempt, but this was a good one. I passed every choke point on 5, and was now nearing the end. I failed very early on into 6, and this was a bit aggravating as my progress was now seeming to slow down. That would change very soon though. As the name suggests, day 5 would be very good for progress, and I made more of a dent in Todai during this one day than out of any in the grind. The stream started as usual, with me getting better at floors 4 to 6 and brushing up on others. Runs started great, with my first one getting past 4. Then I passed 5 and was making great progress on 6. This was my chance. The only thing standing between me and a floor 7 run was the zipline transition. Okay. Now, officially, I was at the final section of Todai. This is arguably the hardest because it has 4 floors instead of 3, and the punishment is similar to the second section. I was just on the first floor, but due to the netted nature of 8, I could easily make it to 9 if I made it there. All I had to do was focus up.
Oh my god. I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy, bro. This means we can lock in the 9 run, bro.
I had passed the entirety of 7, and as you could tell by my reaction, this meant big progress. For some reason, my nerves went away, and instead of being nervous, I was focused.
Yep. Don't pull a J-Road.
Eight was passed, and this run was officially considered a fluke. The thing was though, floor 9 was severely underpracticed, so this was about where I expected this run to end. I don't know how, but I was now on the final stretch before 10. The bad part was that this section was a choke point in practice, and any jump you fail here ends your run, of course, as it's an outside section. Amidst all of this, I still had some hope.
I am a beast, bro. I'm a beast.
This run didn't even seem real. On day 5 of this grind, I was already facing the final floor. To add on, my personal best before this was floor 6. Winning this would still be a challenge, because even though floor 10 is short, it's entirely unnetted, so if I fail here once, it's over. It was now time.
Damn! I should have went down more.
5 more jumps. That's how many I had left when I failed. Due to my strategy for the jump being really bad because of just how under practice floor 10 was at the time, I had failed a run that could have ended the grind short. At that moment, I was actually really happy. This tower seemed like it was going to come down really quick. But soon enough, I would regret not making it a winning fluke that day.
To introduce this section, I need to explain something about fluking. When the fluke is big enough, you can go through something called a mind block. As the name suggests, it's a form of mental block, and it can happen when you get a fluke like this in a big grind. You would expect to get at least near your personal best right after because of the consistency, but that's not exactly the case. If you keep having this mindset and failing, it can be very demotivating, especially when paired with the inability to make progress. If I wanted to get back to where I fell, I would have to try to push past this and pretend that it never happened. This would allow me to progress at around the same rate without demotivation. Unfortunately, I couldn't fully get past this, as my stream started to shorten in time, along with my patience. I developed some mental block on floor 4 because of its punishing nature, and I began to feel it way more than usual. This brings us to the 6th day, where I went back to practicing most of the stream. This was because of the fluke yesterday, and I wanted to improve my consistency on the last section even more now that I knew I can make it there. Runs would start off slow though, with a lot of loop fail on the first couple floors and me failing one of the first jumps on 4. I pushed through this fail and got back to 4, and it was looking much better this time. I passed 4 and got a 5 attempt, meaning that I could actually make some progress this run. Floor 6. The dream of getting to 7 again didn't even seem like a far reach, and I was slowly getting through this floor. But that's when I reached a major choke point for me. It was this jump with a fading truss flick to a two-stud climb, or bounce. I failed it, but I thankfully saved on the zip line. I got all the way back to the jump, and I had some hope this time. It didn't mean to seem anything though, because the same jump cost me the floor 6 run. I chain failed the 4 and then failed this truss bounce. Besides one 5 run, that was it for the day, and I moved on. I was actually looking forward to day 7, as I would be doing runs for most of the stream instead of practice. This day was disappointing though, as I failed 4 countless times and my best run fell victim to this climbable wiggle wrap. I wouldn't let a bad day discourage me though, and I was even more prepared for 4 after some extensive practice on it during day 8. Run started well in this day too, with my first 4 run turning into a 5 run. It seemed like this floor was actually getting consistent now. Even better, I got to 6 on the same attempt. I didn't fail it early on, and when I came to the fading truss, I passed it. I was now again at the end of 6. Let's go. I finally did it again, a floor 7 run. With my previous attempt in extra practice, I could easily make it to 8, or even 9. But why did I go in ghost mode? This wasn't what I was expecting. I failed in the middle of the floor, and the main culprit of this was me going in ghost mode when my usual strategy involves going fully in third person. As expected, I didn't get back for the rest of the stream. This fail definitely wasn't the best for my motivation. I still accepted it as progress though, and I pushed through to day 9, where my goal was another run to 7. This was around the time that 4 runs only took around 4 minutes to get, which meant progress was starting to speed up. After the usual couple of 4 fails, I finally secured an attempt where I passed the floor. This run really wouldn't get anywhere though, and this seemed to be another inconsistent day with no 6 runs. Though my luck would quickly turn around on day 10, with my second 4 run getting me near the end of floor 5. A full loop seemed to have happened now, with me ending my run for the first jump of 6 once again. Even with that annoying failed, I stay motivated, and this led to me getting back to floor 6 within just 30 minutes. I thankfully didn't fall victim to the first jump this time, but instead slowly progressed through 6 until I was finally nearing the end. Oh my god, let's go. Finally, floor 7 was in my grasp again. I wouldn't let myself fail now, not after all of this practice. And it's always that jump, bro. Like,
I had overthinked the same jump and miserably failed it for the second time now. The day would end with this demotivating fail, and I didn't know how much longer this grind was going to take. Unbeknownst to me, I would soon have to push harder than I ever had before. It was yet another day in my grind, and I was ready to make some progress. Like usual, I did my practice on floors 4 to 10, and then I immediately went into runs. I still wanted to get back to 7, so that's what I did. On my first 4 run, I got to 5, then I was at 6. Soon enough, I was all the way back at floor 7. I somehow failed arguably the easiest jump of the entire floor. This really made me lose motivation, but not all of it. I continued my runs, and I somehow managed to make it to floor 6 the same attempt. Surprisingly, I passed the floor for the second time this stream and once again attempted 7. But would I fail the same jumps?
finally, bro.
After what seemed to be a lifetime, I overcame the hurdle of 7, and I was finally back at floor 8. This was my chance to get back. My practice had paid off, and I was really confident about this run. With the amount of 9 to win pad runs I did, this could really be it.
No.
Looking back at it, this fail was definitely stupid. I could have just climbed on there and saved, but at the moment I wasn't really focused anymore because I thought I had already failed by not getting into the lodge here. This was honestly one of the worst fails I had, and I ended the stream right after I failed. I was officially now 12 days into the grind, and it wasn't looking too good for me. If I wanted to get this done, I would have to get many 7 runs, and quick. Because of my fail last stream, I spent most of my practice on 9 and 10, but it didn't take me too long to get into the runs. After multiple fails on floors 4 and 5, I got a decent attempt on 6. This could actually be a 7 run. Okay, we didn't fail the nil. Lee bother. With 7 being achieved 3 days in a row, both sections 1 and 2 were mastered by now, which meant I was in the final stretch of the grind where I would need to pass the 3rd. Anyways, I was back at 7, and I was actually getting somewhere. And I did it again. I rushed the same easy jump and failed it. This was getting annoying now. I didn't give up just yet though, and this was definitely the right decision. I made it straight back to floor 7, and I got all the way back to the jump I failed earlier. For the 3rd time now, I had gotten to floor 8. This could definitely be a 9 run now, especially with me getting close to the end of the floor. Okay. I'd gotten much better with the outside of floor 9 this time around, so I was ready for progress. Big progress.
Because I know it would turn out worse. There we go. Oh my god. Okay.
spiked!
A literal lag spike caused me to fail just 3 jumps from floor 10. After this fail, I just felt done with the tower. I knew it was coming down soon, but how soon? I would start to find out on day 13. After the usual practice routine, with the added extra 9 outside practice and more lag precautions now, I headed into the runs with some pretty good consistency. On my second attempt to 4, I made it a 6 run, and I eventually got to the final jumps of the floor. Well, it had to kill me someday. At least I never had to feel on the grind like this. For some reason, I kept getting double 7 runs every stream, and this trend continued on this one with me getting to 7 again later on. I was really consistent, and after some time I was getting close to 8. Okay. Be right back. This was starting to feel like some daily routine now, because like days before, I would pass floor 8 and make it to 9. Because of how many runs I had there, I first tried getting to the outside, and I had so much practice now that it felt impossible to fail. This could be it. No, bro. But it just wasn't. I turned way too early here and fell all the way back down. Back to square one. I just couldn't seem to get past the outside, even with all of these chances. My motivation was almost depleted now, but I couldn't stop here. Day 14 started pretty rocky with loop failing 1 to 4 for a while, but I got past 4 soon enough. For some reason, I actually seemed really consistent, as this first run made it all the way to floor 7. I focused up and yet again passed the floor. If I passed 8 again, this could really be a good run. Okay. And I did pass it. Like many times before, I slowly got through the inside of 9. For now the 4th time, I was staring down floor 9's outside. After 9 days of mind block, I overcame my struggles and was finally back to where I was at the fluke, floor 10. This could be one of my only chances to finish this tower once and for all.
Toad, I cleared, bro. God dang, that sucks. After just over 2,500 minutes, Tower of Descent into Exile has finally been defeated. Even though it could have been a much quicker grind, I'm still not too mad with my time. This is because it ended up taking less time than Tower of Generation failure, which is clear evidence that I'm definitely improving, even if it's at a slower pace. If I'm being honest, I would prefer not even having the fluke in the first place, because I probably would have had a much better time with floor 7 and the third section overall. But now is time for the part you've probably been all waiting for, my next tower. So what is it? Drumroll please. Tower of Cruel Punishment. All you have to know about this for now is that it's the hardest catastrophic in jtoh, and easily going to be the hardest obby I've ever done so far. As of right now, I'm nearing the end of catastrophic, and I'm slowly getting better. With each episode in the series, we'll get closer and closer to Unreal, even if it takes a while. So join me in this road trip through jtoh's 3 hardest difficulties, and let's see how I'll be able to go from low catastrophic all the way to the peak of human skill. Until the next episode, goodbye.